Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Naruto manga volume review. This one's going to be for volume 52 of the manga, which is called Cell 7 Reunion. This is an 11 chapter volume. We cover 484 to 494. Cell 7 Reunion, Near Yet Far, Fists, the battle begins, every shinobi village, facing a great ninja war, the truth about Ninetales, the Jinchuriki detained, salutations, Dark Naruto, and Killer Bee and Motoi. So yeah, big volume here because it is 11 chapters, and also with that, it covers a lot of ground. Like we go from the potential, the Sasuke Kakashi fight, Naruto arriving, into like Naruto being summoned by giant Gram Sage, told more about the prophecy, him being set up for his next kind of power up, now trying to actually work with Kurama to use their powers together, Naruto meeting Killer Bee, the war progressing, stuff with like Tobi and Kabuto kind of negotiating an alliance on the other side of the war, all the ninja villages kind of coming together, and kind of even more than that. It's just really kind of impressive how much stuff actually happens in this volume. But let's get into some of it. So we start off, of course, with Kakashi fighting Sasuke, and the fight, it's not really a full fight. We just get a little bit of an engagement in that Sasuke immediately goes Susanoo. Kakashi reveals his Mangekyo Sharingan to Sasuke and blocking it. And in the process, I suppose, we get our first interesting interaction here of the fact that Sasuke has never really talked a lot or mentioned a lot about the fact that Kakashi is not an Uchiha yet has a Sharingan. But he mentions it here and is kind of frustrated by it, like saying that someone who's not an Uchiha is inferior and they shouldn't have that eye and so on. But yeah, as kind of Sakura tries to get involved in the fight, Naruto makes his appearance, saving her from potentially being killed by Sasuke again. And from there we basically get the idea that Naruto and Sasuke kind of meet for the first time in a while, and we get the conclusion Naruto has come to after all of this stuff being just piled on top of him. Sasuke is now a criminal. He now knows the truth behind Itachi. He now knows what Sasuke has been up to this past while. All of this stuff and the conclusion that he's come to with regards to how he's meant to handle Sasuke, and it's really interesting kind of how this kind of turns out, in that you get this kind of inner kind of thoughts of basically the idea of two powerful shinobi when they clash basically kind of feel what each other is thinking and stuff like that, and we get that kind of inner dialogue here as they kind of talk to each other. And Naruto talks about how one bad move and I could have been like you because of the way I grew up with the way the Ninetales was, but I didn't. And he respects his bonds as they are now, but with Sasuke, because he's lost his bonds, doesn't respect the bonds that he now kind of has and is kind of trying to tear them away. And we constantly have the idea that Sasuke saying, nothing you say is going to change the way I am now, and kind of he starts to insult Naruto. And it comes down to the fact that, basically, next time we fight, we both die. And this is an interesting way to take this. Basically, our hero character saying that, if you attack the Leaf Village, I'm not just going to let you away with it. I will fight you to defend the village. But I'm not going to lose, and I'm not going to be able to just kill you. We will both die in that battle. So he basically kind of challenges Sasuke, come at me with all of your hatred. Don't come at Konoha, come at me. Aim it all at me, I'll take it, and we'll both die in the process. And it's just this idea that he's basically saying, if we both die, you won't be an Uchiha, I won't be the Jinchuriki of the Ninetales, and then we'll meet again in the afterlife and everything will be fine. And Sasuke's just like, I have no intention of dying to you, and he's just kind of, Naruto just clarifying, I will be the one to fight Sasuke, and Sasuke's reaction is interesting here because he is to some degree taken aback by this, but by kind of Naruto's kind of dedication at this point, just for the fact that like he's doing all of this because he's his friend still, and it's a nice interaction. I think it's an interesting way to stop a fight from happening initially and just have this moment between the two of them that they don't have a full on fight right now, but you set up very clearly that the next time a fight happens, it's got to be big. There's got to be a conclusion to that fight. It's not just going to be one of like 100 fights that Naruto and Sasuke have. The next one's the big one because they're both at a very high level, and we see where we go from here. And plus, it didn't make sense to have to fight here just because of how much Sasuke has been through. Towards the end of his fight with Kakashi, we see that he's basically becoming blind. He's losing the light in both eyes. And immediately when Toby takes him away, he's basically like, I want Itachi's eyes, and we have the transplant happen off screen. And he basically has... The result of this in terms of Sasuke is that Sasuke has basically accepted the challenge from Naruto. He's basically saying, I will crush Naruto with all I've got. I'll eradicate him completely. Naruto has kind of succeeded in a way of like moving Sasuke away from attacking the village and more towards just taking him out. Because if he takes Naruto out, then the village is kind of free to be attacked, I suppose. So there's that, and we get some kind of jokes at Sakura's expense, because a lot of what's just happened in a way is kind of her fault. She ended up her knife ended up getting Naruto cut, so he's poisoned by her poison kunai. She'd already knocked everyone else out to get to this point already, so she obviously has a lot of apologizing to do for this situation that just happened. We have the Cloud come back together as everyone's happy to have Killer Bee back. We get the reveal that Kisame isn't dead. What happened was he did this kind of body substitution thing where he's actually still alive, but this clone acted like he died. The real Kisame is actually inside Samehada undercover, so that's an interesting kind of thing, that one of the Akatsuki members is actually there by the end of this volume, and of course it's there to set up the Guy Kisame fight, kind of round 3, I think, at this point we're setting up towards. Kabuto's introduced at this point, and as they return to the Leaf Village, the idea that we get here is that, okay, Danzo's been killed. Kakashi is basically going to be appointed the next Hokage. The daimyo is right there, the feudal lord's right there. He's basically just about to say, Kakashi, you are the next Hokage, when it's revealed that Tsunade has actually woken up. Finally, after what she put herself through to save everyone from pain, so everyone wouldn't be killed, she's now finally awake again, and after, a bit of a kind of jokey recovery of just like she eats a ton, and eventually she can use her powers to keep herself looking young again. And we get a nice interaction here of Kakashi saying, I was dangerously close to becoming Hokage. It's not really in my nature. And given the current circumstances, I think it's best that you, Lady Tsunade, who has great pull, stay on as Hokage. So just Kakashi kind of saying, like, okay, I was willing for the sake of the village to take on the role if it was requested of me, but I really, deep down, if I had a choice about it, didn't want to actually do it. So I like that little thing of just like, he's, for the sake of duty, basically, he was willing to do it, but for the most part, not really. Then we move into, obviously, setting up Naruto's next kind of training arc. He's just about to have some Ichiraku Ramen when the Toads summon him to Mount Miyaboku, using the reverse summoning thing, because he has the summoning contract with the frogs. And yeah, Giant Gram Sage is here, and basically says he had a dream about Naruto that he would meet an octopus and learn from him to kind of control the Nine Tails, and he would also have a fight with someone who has great eye powers. These are basically the two prophecies that are made here, and we know that the Lord Elder Toad Sage, we know his prophecies are always true, even if he can't see the exact details of them clearly. But from what we know, this means that Naruto and Sasuke are going to fight. It's going to be a big fight, and setting up that Killer Bee is going to train Naruto how to control the tailed beast. The other thing we get here is, of course, Gamatora, who obviously has the kind of the sealing formula for Naruto's seal, is put inside of Naruto. So now he has the key to fully unlock the tetragram seal whenever he wants, to let the Kurama out if he needs to. So a lot of little things being put into play here. I think previously I kind of skipped past it, but Toby was basically saying, before the war starts, I'm going to go and retrieve the Rinnegan. So I assume that's, it's him going to get it from Pain, Nagato. So that's interesting how exactly he's going to use the Rinnegan. Can you just implant it in someone and it works? At this stage in the series, we haven't really got that revealed just yet. Then Kabuto's involvement is presented to us. Obviously, he's basically trying to become Orochimaru, so of course he uses the reanimation jutsu. And he basically says, like, I want to join up with you and help participate in the war. Here are some extra firepower for the war. And so it's revealed that, Sasori, Deidara, these type of characters are being revived, even Itachi and Nagato. So, really, really important kind of characters being revived here ahead of the war. And it's going to cause a huge threat, of course. Kakuzu as well. And what we get here is that Toby is about to refuse this offer from Kabuto. And Kabuto forces Toby's hand by revealing one other reanimated person. And this takes Toby aback completely. Like, how on earth did you get that? Like, we're not even mentioning if it's like a guy or a girl, but whoever it is, it's someone who's enough to basically force Toby's hand to kind of agree to have Kabuto on his side. So this alliance with the villains is formed, as we see Anko is basically trying to figure out kind of what's going on here. She's leading a mission ahead of everyone to figure out the information on the enemy. We get an explanation next about how Naruto would go about basically utilizing Kurama more, the idea that he will unlock the seal temporarily, pull chakra from Kurama and kind of seal it, kind of close it again in a way. But it's going to be one of the most challenging things he's ever done because of how dangerous and hate-filled the Nine Tails actually is. But Naruto agrees to take on the challenge, and because his father had such faith in him, the type of seal that it is, it was all set up for the fact that this would someday happen. From there, he's brought back to the village, and here's a really, really nice plot setup. He returns back to Ichiraku Ramen. At this point, more people are there eating. It's two kind of younger ninjas, but ninjas that I suppose Naruto is actually ahead of in terms of power level, but are maybe ranked higher than him. And they're like, oh, it's Naruto, like, you're my hero, and can I get your autograph? So the two of them ask him for autographs. And it's at this point we get this idea of Naruto's kind of taken aback by this. He's the hero, and his kind of, as far as we're aware up to now, loved the attention he's been getting as a hero, that the people finally respect him. But seeing it up this close, the idea that these people are just like, can I have your autograph? And we get it from Teuchi's kind of perspective. Everyone's making such a fuss over him lately as the miracle lad. What an about face from not too long ago. Can't blame the boy for feeling how he does. So this idea that deep down Naruto is actually a bit frustrated with this. That, oh, I'm a hero now. Now they respect me. What about when I was younger? They just ignored me. That this is the darkness in Naruto's heart that's being set up, because they say that the only way he can properly take the chakra from the Nine Tails if he's kind of like clearer of mind and like kind of not filled with hatred. But anyway, we have the next Gokage kind of summit here. This being the first one that we've seen Tsunade attend. And she kind of has to be caught up on a few things. The main thing that she's kind of disagrees with, but ultimately ends up agreeing to, is how they're going to handle the two remaining Jinchuriki that they have. Her immediate thought is that Naruto and Killer Bee would both be amazing to have on the battlefield as part of the war. But Gaara is actually one of the ones to point out that, no, we have to keep them safe. The war is fighting to protect them because of what the Akatsuki actually want. I know Naruto all too well. Letting him out and the way he isn't the best kind of way to do things. We very quickly have Naruto come to the secret island that the Jinchuriki are going to be kept away from the war on, and they're introduced, and obviously we know Killer Bee, we've met him one-on-one, but seeing Naruto interact with him here is kind of like, okay, it's my prophecy to train from this guy. He's a bit of a weirdo because of his rapping. Killer Bee seems to not necessarily like the fact that Naruto says a lot. For some reason he seems to not like using because for some reason he doesn't like that. We see the Guy is with them as well, Might Guy. So a bunch of characters here to basically look after Naruto here as he finishes his training. We're then introduced to Motoi, who's kind of the supervisor from the cloud there to basically, I think, watch over Killer Bee. And just the rest of the volume is effectively about Naruto kind of wondering why Killer Bee won't immediately jump out and train him. They do the fist bump thing, which is important to Killer Bee, and Motoi basically says that, okay, even if he's not being extremely open with you about it, the fact that he did the fist bump with you is kind of telling. He only does that with people that he's willing to kind of help to a degree. So the first part of Naruto's training is the Waterfall of Truth. He has to meditate at this waterfall and basically tackle the darkness that lies within his heart. And as we get to see here, it's kind of the dark version of Naruto, the one who gives in to a degree to the kind of frustrations he have. Like, this is the side of Naruto that would have become like Sasuke if actual Naruto, you know, the good side of Naruto didn't keep things in check. And we see that the big frustration at the moment is, you know, why didn't you give them an autograph back at Ichiraku? Can't blame you since they came kissing up to you like that. Weren't they all just completely disgusting? Referencing the fact that, you know, like, I am the darkness in your heart, and deep down you agree with me that they all turned around once we became a hero. And the fight between them isn't working because they're both the same. They're just like two sides of the same coin. One is the good side of Naruto, one is the dark side of Naruto. One can't defeat the other. So it's not a physical fight here. It's about, you know, the understanding the darkness, like, accepting it as part of yourself, but that it doesn't define you in a way. But we get Motoi's kind of backstory here, and the fact that he once tried to kill Killer Bee because of Killer Bee's backstory with regard to how he became the Eight Tails Jinchuriki. The Cloud had issues with regards to the Eight Tails always kind of breaking out and hurting people in the kind of transition periods between different Jinchurikis. And Motoi's father was killed by the Eight Tails at one point, and so he hates the Eight Tails to a degree and tried to kill Killer Bee. But Killer Bee just basically ignored the assassination attempt and fist bumped him. And it's basically revealed at the end that there's no issue with between the two of them. Killer Bee is fine with fist bumping Motoi at the very end, and there's absolutely no issue between them. So we'll get obviously more interactions between those two in the next volume, and we'll move on to the conclusion of the first stage of Naruto's training and so on in the next volume. But it is just cool to get, you know, like Killer Bee, Motoi's backstory at the kind of very end of this volume. Even though Motoi isn't a particularly important character, seeing his relationship with Killer Bee, kind of addressing Killer Bee's backstory, how he kind of did put so much into becoming a good Jinchuriki purely for his brother, the Raikage. Really, really interesting stuff there. And I suppose the final thing is just with Naruto and his reaction to hearing Killer Bee's story, that it kind of confirms to him that, like, okay, it's okay to feel the way he does, that the villagers have kind of just very quickly done an about face on him, but when it comes down to it, he set out with the goal of trying to get everyone to respect him, and he's accomplished that. And yes, they may have not been great with how they acted in the past, the villagers, but they do respect him now, and to a degree that is all that matters. Emphasizing what they were before doesn't mean all that much. That's taking you down a Sasuke path. And I like how kind of Killer Bee's story has helped Naruto to realize that, no, like, it's fine. If people ask me for autographs, fine. The way I am now is kind of really cool. So yeah, that's volume 52. Really good volume. A lot of things happening. It's a lot of setup kind of as we build towards the war beginning. But it's really good setup. A lot of great character stuff. The setup of basically the Naruto and Sasuke fight for next time with regards to the whole like we die bit. Really, really cool way to set it up, given that it's not going to happen for another like 15 or so volumes. But either way, really cool. But scheduling wise, I hope to get these out a little bit more regularly from here on out. As I said, there's only 20 more volumes to go in the series. I want to get that done way before the end of the year. So I'm going to try and kind of increase the speed that I put these out at. But yeah, that's been volume 52. Really excited for next time out because 53 is the birth of Naruto and this tragic, emotional story. I'm so excited to actually read this for the first time in the manga, having mainly only experienced it through the anime. So I'm excited to see how the manga does such an important part of the story. So yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.